Okay, welcome everyone. We'll call this meeting to order, January 15th, regular council meeting. And we welcome those that are here tonight in the gallery from Eco Exeter. Great to have you here tonight. And we welcome those that are participating from home. Don't blame me, it's a cold night out there tonight. So we ask everyone now to rise for O Canada, please. Thank you. Please be seated. And again, we welcome all those that are participating tonight. Welcome our staff and members of council who are all present tonight. And we'll begin with our land acknowledgement as we open this meeting. As we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. And as a community, we have a responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting. And thank you for that. And we'll move on to item number 2, Ms. Masuda Carlson.
That South Huron Council approves the agenda as presented.
And do we have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? I call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. And then disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures at this time? Councillor McLeod-Haggett, please.
With 4.2, if that letter is pulled for coldest night of the year, as I'm a committee member.
Thank you. Very well. Any other disclosures at this time? Okay, not seeing any. Move on to our presentation, and I will say it's my absolute pleasure to recognize our community's greatest asset, our future leaders, our youth. Eco Exeter has been hard at work within South Huron, generating a greater awareness about global environmental sustainability and taking action to combat some of the greatest and biggest challenges of the 21st century, climate change and plastic pollution, to name a few. The influence of Eco Exeter is now spreading beyond our municipal borders and will now reach national and even international audiences. This past fall, Eco Exeter participated in a filming project that will feature their conservation efforts and messages of optimism on an episode of The Nature of Things, as well as a documentary to premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. And to all members of the Eco Exeter team and on behalf of the entire community, I would like to personally commend you for being outstanding ambassadors for South Huron and congratulate all of you for your global environmental leadership. Well done. And if I could just call you to the podium and just maybe talk a bit about what you've been doing. If you just introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Ryan Marsh, and I'm in grade 12 now at South Huron, and I'm the president of Eco Exeter. So Eco Exeter started back in 2019 in Miss Keller's science class. And basically what we do is we plan a variety of initiatives within the school and town community to encourage people to reduce waste, especially plastic waste. So it's really important to be recognized tonight and also on the news and the radio and also the documentary crew, because then that message that we all care so much about reaches a greater audience. So I'm going to call now, this is Liam. Liam is my vice president, and he's going to tell you about what we've been up to this first semester.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Liam Buckman. I'm a vice president of Equexeter. I'm here just to talk about sort of the things we've been doing last semester and then sort of the exciting new things we've planned for this coming semester. So as you know, we had the absolute pleasure to be part of the International Film Festival documentary called Little People or Plastic People or something along those lines. And that was awesome, really fun experience. And it's great, like you said, to get the message out and sort of inspire people. We also had the pleasure to run our very first student swap, which is an idea we took from Stratford District Secondary School. And it's an event where we encourage kids from across our school to bring in used items that they don't want anymore. And we had a designated day where fourth period, everyone came who brought in items and they got to pick and choose what they wanted. So it was like everyone brought their stuff in throughout the course of a month, and then everyone got to go and pick out new stuff. So it was a really cool experience, really awesome for our first time, lots of involvement. And it was really just an awesome experience. And we're hoping to run that again this upcoming semester, but more recently, sort of like soon, we're planning a bring your own mug sometime in February 14th at the White Squirrel Bakery. So if you want some coffee, bring your own mug. I believe we're covering that.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you bring your own mug, then we will cover and get you some coffee. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Yeah. Anyone else want to speak to it at all? Love to hear from anyone else that would like to. Come on up if you like. If you don't want to, that's fine too. We can accept that. That's not a problem. We got something for you. We got a certificate for you. We'd like you all to come up and have a picture taken with us, members of council. If you'd like to come up front here, and we'll get you positioned, and we'll have a little certificate presentation. The members of council want to come up also. And that, members of council, is the way to start off a council meeting. Okay, on to delegations. 5.1, Ms. Masood Carlson, I believe Ms. Mossop is joining us by Zoom tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Mossop, go ahead whenever you're ready, please. You have about 10 minutes.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I erred on the side of caution and stayed home on the lakeshore community in the cold weather and all the germs that are out there, which some of you may know about that over the holidays, all the illness. I'm also guessing maybe you were hoping not to see us again so soon from this area, but I did want to check in with you. You received a lot of communication from many citizens in this area. I was copied on a lot of it, so I know how much you received over the last few months. And I wanted to say thank you for all your patience, for your engagement over the last many months. It has been really important, and you've been really great. I got to meet some new people in my community that I'd never met before as a result of this, and got to know some others a little bit better. And it was through our mutual concern, not just about the oversizing of the sewer pipe, but also it's been a concern for a while about changes being made to our community without a secondary plan or an official plan review, including the approval of the first phase of a subdivision and the proposed but not yet approved second phase, much of which sits on floodplain. A secondary plan or an official plan review will provide the visioning, the study, the research, the projections, consultation, and planning that is normal and necessary and an important part of these processes in our province, in Ontario and everywhere. They help to ensure that we're growing where it makes sense to grow from a needs standpoint, demand, and a cost perspective. And the cost is not just the capital, but the operating and the ongoing maintenance costs and the servicing costs, which include all the things that people need, the road maintenance, policing, and fire, and how to manage the realities of more traffic and the volume of stormwater runoff when one's replacing permeable surfaces with concrete. And there are also new and evolving realities to be addressed: climate change and the associated impacts, including flooding. And we know that all levels of government, utilities, businesses, the insurance industry, are all actively engaged on this challenge. And the federal minister of the environment and the provincial premier have put municipalities and developers on notice that they will not be bailing out developments in flood-prone areas. And this area is a flood-prone area, and it's getting worse. And you can see it. You just have to drop by here after a good rain and you can see it. Already in our area, I know that we have homeowners adjacent to the floodplain here in the Port Blake area whose basements are flooding, and they are challenged with insurance issues. When I was a member of provincial parliament, some of you know that I was an MPP, I often got calls from constituents about heavily flooded basements, and they were often in new developments that essentially had created these concrete gutters where previously rainwater volumes were naturally absorbed by the land and the trees. By way of background, I was a journalist for 23 years, print, radio, and TV, and then I went to the dark side, as my journalistic colleagues called it. And I ran for office and I was elected as MPP for Stoney Creek. And as such, I did work with developers and municipalities to build sufficient housing stock of all types, supported with the needed infrastructure and servicing, and to do it cost effectively, to grow where it made sense to grow from an asset management standpoint, from assessing where people needed and wanted to live and considering the need for affordable housing and employment lands, because development is costly and servicing the needs of people who live in those developments is costly, and it's ongoing. I also worked very hard on the Greenbelt, which, as you know, is a landmark piece of legislation to protect farmland, forest, waterways, so that there will be those necessities of life, clean water, clean air, and food now and for generations to come. And when it made more sense for some land to not be included in the Greenbelt, to instead be developed for housing or employment, I spoke up and I supported that. I also learned that there was never enough money to go around for all that was needed and all that was wanted. The pie is only so big and there's so many demands on it, and choices have to be made, and they're not easy. One of the most enriching experiences, though, was knocking on doors. I was surprised at how willing, even grateful people were to stand in the doorstep in the cold sometimes and talk about what worried them, what kept them up at night. And I particularly felt for the seniors. I remember an elderly woman clearly. She was so worried that she wasn't going to be able to afford to stay in her beloved family home because of the rising costs of everything, but mostly because of the uncontrollable costs. She could cut back on groceries, to some extent on gasoline, But the tax bill, the water bill, she couldn't change those. They were going up. They kept going up. And I was struck by the United Way report at your last meeting that talked about the income in this area, many not even making a living wage, many on fixed incomes, and the dire need for affordable housing, especially near employment. Because if you're not making a living wage, car, gas, insurance, even bus fare can be too much. And at the end of the day, there's only one pocket. There's only one pocket, whether it's taxes or user fees, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal. And governments and elected officials can decide with a stroke of a pen, the raise of a hand, a yay or a nay, standing in our elected places, how big that straw gets and how much it sucks out of that one pocket. And there's a pain point. Sewer and water rates are a contentious and painful issue for many in this community. They've risen 400% in 7 years, and they are anticipated to rise again. And there's been no change, no improvement in service. Property taxes, as you know, are quite hefty for the Lakeshore communities. They range between $5,000 and $25,000 a property per year. And yet these are privately owned areas receiving little in exchange for their high taxes. And on top of the taxes, they pay user fees for garbage, recycling, water. The taxes and the user fees that some people have to pay to keep their own home or cottage are enough to pay a salary, one that exceeds a living wage. The Lakeshore communities provide for themselves and they support the interests of the broader community as well. They do so through volunteer boards. And in the case of Oakwood Park, we pay $750 a year per property to manage our communities, the paving, plowing, sanding, repair of our roads, the creation and maintenance of pathways, lighting, signage, cleaning up litter. Very little in the actual park, but there's a lot washing up from the lake, as Eco Exeter can tell you, or maybe is dropped by people walking along the beach. And it's getting more and more, which is distressing, but we clean it up. We're protecting the shoreline through dunes management. We look after the trees, we trim them, we plant them, we manage invasive species. And the forests in some areas here are the formal managed woodlots. And we're not asking to do these things for us. We want to work in partnership with you to be consulted and listened to and considered when our community is being impacted. No one wants to lose their home or their cottage because of rising costs over which they have no control and which deliver no direct benefit, but instead threaten the real value of their communities and the environment. The Port Blake area, as it is, has tremendous real value. The forest and the trees provide at no cost to anyone tremendous benefits for everyone. The trees naturally draw up and use nutrients, keeping the ground and the groundwater, the shoreline, and the lake free from possible contaminants. They provide oxygen, they clean the air, they provide natural cooling, they provide tremendous beauty, they provide food and habitat for many species, birds, reptiles, mammals. Some of them are species at risk. There's the eastern hognose snake. Not a lot of people like snakes, but it has a role. They all have roles. We see bald eagles. They use the trees here to survey the lake when they're fishing, and sometimes up to a dozen will be sitting out on the ice banks in late winter, and they dine on the frozen sushi bar out there. There's little, for me anyway, or for many of us around here, as thrilling as hearing the great horned owls at night. They are natural predators for many unwanted rodents. The foxes have made a home here where they dine on mice and squirrels and berries and nuts. And the natural habitat means they don't have to stray and menace farmers' livestock. And speaking of farms, there's prime farmland here. Good farmland is becoming priceless as the human population grows, the need for food grows, and the cost of food grows. And protection of farmland is a job for governments at all levels. So these are all these realities that we look forward to addressing in a secondary plan, official plan review with you, in partnership with you. Is Port Blake really a good area for more residential growth? Well, a thorough and a proper official plan review should help answer that question. Right now, it's largely seasonal housing area, and seasonal housing values are tanking. Costs are going up. People have decided to go back and not live at the cottage after the pandemic and know that they can't. They have to go back to work where they're needed. Resources are strained and they're needed for where housing's really needed. That's where the workforce is needed with healthcare, education. We need affordable and attainable housing, and we need to grow where growth is needed and not just because someone bought some land, much of it floodplain, and wants to make some money off of it. Many view things solely through the lens of dollar signs, but there are things in this world which are rapidly becoming priceless, and some of them exist here in Port Blake. Prime farmland, trees, forests, habitat. They contribute to the health and the strength not only of our community, but our province and people. Food, clean air, clean water, they're critical. I learned a lot in government, how complex and detailed many issues are, and the need for research, questioning, care in balancing the diverse needs of millions of people, and the impacts and consequences of decisions, immediate impacts, long-term, and the intended and unintended consequences. It's a huge responsibility, and it's really a sacred trust with those people on that doorstep, the people attached to that one pocket. And it's a role for which you are not well compensated or appreciated or even thanked. And I know that. So let me say thank you for your time, your work, your engagement, what you do every single day for the people of this community and beyond. And we really do look forward to continuing to working with you in good spirit, in goodwill, on a vision and a plan for this area, for a healthy, sustainable, resilient community that will support the health and well-being of people now and in the future. And we also welcome any of you to come visit us in the area, to walk the area with us, to learn about it, and discuss these things with us firsthand. So thank you so much for your time, for your indulgence, and stay safe on the roads tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Mossop. Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions for Ms. Mossop? Okay, not seeing anything. Thank you very much. I think that's it. Have a good night. Stay safe back there.
Good
Ms.
night.
Masood-Collison.
The South Huron Council receives a delegation regarding a secondary plan for Port Blake as presented by Jennifer Mossop.
Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor McLeod Haggett, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. There's no public meeting minutes, please. Ms. Masood-Collison.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the budget meeting of December 11th, 2023, and the regular council meeting of December 18th, 2023, as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
That the minutes and or budgets of the following committees and or boards be received as presented to council. There's a Huron County Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan Oversight Committee, minutes of November 28th, 2023, and draft minutes of January 5th, 2024. Police Services Board, minutes of December 11th, 2023, and November report. Exeter Business Improvement Area, minutes of December 12th, 2023, and Ausable Bayfield Conservation Authority 2024 budget.
And the mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Councillor Oak, you had something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just would wonder, Rebecca, if you could pass on my thanks to Stacy for all her work on the committee. It's obvious we've got a strong person on there. They're utilizing the templates that she's put together and for across the county. So that's a great news story. So pass my thanks to her, please.
Thank you. Ms. Masood-Collison, comment?
I will do that, Stacy. And I will also beg council's indulgence. Just wanted to provide council an update, excuse me, on the Community Safety and Policing Act that is coming into force as of April 1st, 2024, and will be proclaimed. The policing contract, I just wanted to provide council this information that was authorized at the end of 2023 will be finished at that point. So it is unclear at this time. We're hoping there's a transition period after the April 1st date to give the detachment board time to get put together. I'm not sure if Deputy Mayor has a bit more information on that, but I just wanted to give council that update.
Deputy, can you elaborate?
Just
couple of comments. One is there's a summit meeting on the 28th February. I'm not 100% sure on the date, but it's the end of February. I plan on attending, and it's a 2-day. I think the CAO is probably going also, because this is something that we need to get updated on and get figured out where this board's going and how it's going to be set up. We know how it's going to be set up, but who's going to be on it? So I think it's something that's very important, and I hope they give us some time to get it set up and moved forward. One other thing on the Police Services Board minutes, there was a question the last time from Councillor Oak about the speed on the Morrison line. The average speed was 92.7 kilometers per hour. And therefore, they don't warrant additional resources unless we want to start paying for it. And I believe there was one there with 145 kilometers an hour, and they said it was probably an officer responding to an occurrence. Only explanation that they had. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions at all? Any further questions? Councillor Oak?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for the follow-up. Appreciate that. Rebecca, just a question then. With the ending of the police contract, there was a number of items that were included in the police contract that we had. So still early days to know if any of those other things that were included in the contract would be still offered, or whether they're going to be pay per play sort of thing.
Ms. Masuda Carlson?
Through the mayor, yes, it is early days. It will be a detachment board, what that will look like and what grants. Right now we get the RIDE grant. And is that those kinds of questions? Hopefully we'll get some answers at the summit, but definitely hopefully before April 1st.
Great. Any other questions? If not, we have a mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Next item, please.
Okay. That South Huron Council receives a report from Craig Metzger, Senior Planner, regarding subdivision 40T 20006 Trident Red Line Plan modifications, and that South Huron Council recommend to Huron County Council approval of the application to modify the layout of the draft plan of subdivision file 40T20006.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 9.1.2, please.
That South Huron Council receives a report from Vanessa Colbert, Planning Coordinator, regarding 2023 fourth quarter and 2023 year-end summary planning report for information, and that the following members be appointed to the Committee of Adjustment for 2024. And we need 3 volunteers.
Councillor Neeb, Councillor Oak, I see your hand up. And Councillor Dietrich, do I see your hand up? Thank you very much. Okay. We have 3 volunteers. Is there? We have 3 volunteers. That's excellent. Any other discussion on that? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Oh, do we have a mover? We don't have a mover seconder. Sorry. Do we have a mover, please, for that? Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the voluntold. I appreciate it. Just wanted to make note of and thank Vanessa for the report. I notice it's been evident that we haven't had as many Committee of Adjustment meetings this past year. I think some of the changes that the council's made with some of our bylaws that we've changed, there's less minor variances that are being that are occurring. So it helps speed up the process. And in fact, the last week I had a compliment from a homeowner that had just got a building permit and went through the whole process and was quite pleased on how smooth and fast it went. So thanks to the planning department for that. So pass that on to the Mike.
Thanks very much. Mike, do you have any comments at all?
Through your worship, no, I do not. Just thank you for the passing on the compliments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rolfe. If we have a mover and a seconder, there's no further discussion. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Terrific. 9.1.3, please.
The South Huron Council receives a report from Mike Rolfe, Director of Building and Planning, Chief Building Official, regarding the 2023 fourth quarter building activity report, 2023 annual building activity report, and the 5-year summary for information.
And a mover, please. Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Councillor Neeb.
Thank you, Mayor Finch, and thank you, Mike, for the report, and specifically for the 5-year average at 46 million in construction value. That's good to see. As new growth pays for our services, one of the questions I had was about the impact values and tax value of new builds or renovations. With any development or construction, there's some new assessment value, and I was wondering if we'd be able to get a summary of new assessment value in the same 5-year time, and whether that, I'm sorry, Mike, if that's not you, but I'm just kind of curious about if we could get some information back about that growth within the last 5 years.
Ms. Basula Collison, should I turn to Ms. Warwick?
Yeah, we can turn to Director Warwick.
Through you, Mayor Finch, I wouldn't have that information available right at the tips of my fingers, but we could definitely pull that together. Yeah.
It's terrific. Mr.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Oak.
Yes, thanks. And I was going to compliment Mike on the report, and to Councillor Neeb's. It's nice to see the 5-year average, and last year was a little softer than the last couple years, but still above the 5-year average. So still a strong year and a busy year. So look forward to some of the developments that are underway moving forward here. So thanks for the great work.
Hey, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Rolfe, again for your excellent work and teamwork. Is there any further questions at all? None. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Ms. Basula Collison, next one, please.
The council receives a report of Jeremy Becker, General Manager of Community and Emergency Services, regarding the 2023 Q4 Fire Department responses for information.
And a mover, please. Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Discussion. Councillor Neeb, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Finch, and thank you, Chief Becker, for the report on the fourth quarter responses, as well as the 2023 response totals. The question I had was about the higher number of responses and whether they stem from all call types or whether it's just a few areas where we're seeing the higher numbers.
Chief, a comment?
Thank you, through the mayor. Yes, we have seen calls increasing over the last number of years. More growth, more building, more traffic. We did have a very busy year with structure fires. Our second quarter was an extremely busy quarter with 29 calls in total between the 2 stations. And that's one other thing. Previously, this was a 3-station department. We're now down to 2. So we are seeing a definite increase. And generally more alarms, fire alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. Few more medicals since about 2015 or 2016, previous chief, when the tiered response agreement was signed with Huron County EMS. So that's adding a couple of calls each quarter as well.
Great. Thanks very much, Chief. Any other questions, Councillor Neeb?
I do have another question, but I think someone else put their hand up, so I'll wait.
Okay. Who was Councillor Oak? No. Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Neeb, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Finch. The other question I had too was about response times and how we're able to reach adequate response times, and if we still are.
Chief?
With the increase.
Thank you. Currently, we are meeting. We're keeping our same response times. We're turning trucks out of either station in less than 5 or 6 minutes on the average, day and night, which is actually very impressive. We are staying at a standard, a constant for our response times. I haven't seen any drastic increases. Weather does play a bit of a challenge sometimes when the roads are sloppy or snow covered, but fortunately we haven't seen much of that. We haven't seen much of that yet this year.
Councillor Neeb?
No, thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions for our staff? Not seeing any. Thank you very much, Chief, and you can pass our thanks on to all your personnel, and we thank you very much for your dedication. Response times are very, very important when you're the victim of a fire or an emergency, so thank you again. If we have no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please, 9.2.2, I believe.
The council receives a report of Jeremy Becker, General Manager of Community and Emergency Services, regarding the Exeter Pool for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Questions? Councillor Neeb, go ahead.
Just more of a statement and congratulations to General Manager Becker and his team for a successful season at the Exeter Pool. It's fantastic to see that all of the guards indicated that they would return, which is very reassuring given the struggles that other area pools have had with recruitment. And I think it's a testament to the climate there and with you as the general manager. So thank you for that. It's great to see an increase in the from last year as well. So thank you very much.
Chief, any response?
Thank you. But ultimately, it's thanks to the council for providing this amenity to South Huron.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Jeremy, I'm just wondering if with all the different types of programs, swimming programs we have, if we actually have the revenues broken out by type, like Adult Swim or the Aquafit or any of it, actually.
Chief, do you have any breakdown?
Yeah, that's I don't have it in front of me. That's something I could get Miss Warwick's team to help me with, and we'll get that for you.
Okay, thanks. I'd appreciate that.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor, oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, again, great year at the pool, and the only downfall is the bronze medallion, and hopefully maybe this year we can get enough to run it. Maybe solicit some of the neighboring pools to see if there's enough to run a mutual course, because that is definitely the next step for the becoming a guard. So yeah, that's other than that, it was a tremendous year. So congratulations.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 9.3, please.
The South Huron Council receives a report from Shane Timmermans, Manager of Transportation Services, regarding the Pine Ridge Snowmobile Bridge, and that the municipality of South Huron not assume ownership of the snowmobile bridge that crosses over the Sable River in Elliott Park.
And we have a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please. Go ahead, Councillor Vaughn.
Yes, I'm just wondering with the if with the resolution itself, if we do go forward and decide we are not going to assume ownership for this snowmobile bridge, I noted that the club has indicated that they are willing to remove it if we don't have an interest. And I'm just wondering if that very notion should also be a part of our resolution in terms of advising the club to remove it.
Should we turn to Mr. Timmermans? Do we have a comment from you maybe? Or Ms. Masuo calls, would you like to comment?
We could certainly amend it to clarify that, the resolution, if you'll just give us a couple minutes, and the acting clerk.
Would you like to do that then?
Probably others might want to have some kind of discussion before we go that far.
That's fine. Councillor Oak, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Just a question. If we don't assume, I know there's been talks with ABCA about maybe extending the trail to the other side. Where would that trail go? Would that potential trail use that bridge, a revised bridge there? Just wondering, because there had been talk about putting a trail over onto that side, and just didn't know if that was going to be the potential location for a crossing of the river to get to the other side there. So I'm just asking the question.
Ms. Masuo Carlson.
I think maybe I'll start and then if Shane has anything to add. As far as I know, there hasn't been any conversation on this particular bridge. And this particular bridge would need more work in addition to that money, that 52,000, in order to make it a walking bridge. So it may be beneficial to explore possibly a different bridge for that. Unless Shane, have you heard anything as far as the walking bridge?
Mr. Timmons, any comment?
Through you, Mayor Finch. No, I have not.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to do an amendment then, still? Satisfied with that?
Yes, I think we should have an amendment to just,
Madam Clerk, I'll let you prepare that and I'll ask for a seconder for that.
And we could probably ask if it can be a friendly amendment. I think Councillor Dietrich and Councillor Neeb are the ones that moved and seconded the resolution.
Would you be agreeable to that, gentlemen? Yeah, you're okay with that? Okay, and Councillor Neeb?
Just more a question then. So if we do not assume the bridge, then that's it for the bridge. Is that?
Mr. Paulson?
Through the mayor, yes, that is correct.
So we'll have the amendment read out here in a moment.
That South Huron Council receives the report from Shane Timmermans, Manager Transportation Services regarding the Pine Ridge Snowmobile Bridge, and that the municipality of South Huron not assume ownership of the snowmobile bridge that crosses over the Asable River in Elliott Park. And that Pine Ridge Snowmobile Club proceed to remove the snowmobile bridge at no cost to the municipality.
Councillor Dietrich, you moved that. Are you satisfied with that amendment, on the friendly amendment? I need you to turn your mic on to confirm that.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Neeb?
Yes.
Very well. Is there any further discussion on this? Councillor Neeb?
Yeah, I just think it's worthwhile maybe down the road, if a trail does come up that we do explore a new bridge. It sounds like the costs are too high to assume ownership as well as updating the bridge. But I do think it's a good idea maybe down the road if the trail does continue that'd be an option that could be explored.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question all in favor. And that carries with 7. Thank you. Very well. Next item, please. 9.4, please.
That South Huron Council receives a report of Stacy Jeffrey, Community Relations Manager, regarding the electric vehicle EV charge on funding program. And that council authorizes staff to proceed with 2 applications to the electric vehicle charge on funding program as administered by the Ministry of Transportation. And the council supports the following 2 project locations to be applied as separate applications: the South Huron Recreation Center and Stephen Arena.
And do we have a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead, please.
Will the grant pay for the entire hookup or do we have to pay a little extra for that?
Welcome, Ms. Jeffrey. Did you hear Mr. Dietrich's comment? Go ahead.
Yep, through you, Mayor Finch. So the grant only covers up to 75%, up to a maximum dollar amount for the level 2 and level 3, which is outlined in the report there. So it's not 100% funding, but for sure the 75% and max is a good amount. Included in that, it does cover the electrical work that may be required. It is important to note that the South Huron Rec Center and Stephen Arena, those locations were chosen based on they're more site ready, so less work is anticipated for those 2 sites.
Councillor Dietrich, do you have something to follow up?
Yes. So what will we be asking for, 1, 2, or 3, like for voltage?
Ms. Jeffrey, would you be able to respond to that?
Yep, through you, Mayor Finch. So currently we're waiting for confirmation that we do have the service that is able to support the level 2 and 3 chargers. Until we have that information, we can't really recommend what combination is going to work because they're all different in terms of what is required for that. So once we have that information, we can recommend whether it be the minimum for level 2 or the level 3 port options as outlined in the report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for bringing this report forward, Stacy. I agree that it would be good to offer. I guess the question I have is, and maybe a later report could come to council with an up-to-date list of chargers that we do have in South Huron that the public can use. I know that there's some that are at businesses that I'm not sure if they're for public use at some private businesses, but I do know that there's some others. So it'd be just nice to have an idea of throughout South Huron where we do have charging stations already.
Thank you. Ms. Jeffrey, any comment?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Finch. So the County of Huron was part of the regional EV network strategy, and they undertook a study across Huron, Wellington, Dufferin, so they were part of a collaborative effort. So I can circulate that to council as well for those locations in South Huron. That report lists them, as well as potentially link that on our website so then members of the public do know where to find those chargers.
Thank you. Councillor Oak.
Yeah, that would be good because I know there had been some posts on social media where there was people attending hockey tournaments or things and they were wondering where they could charge and things like that. So it'd be good to get that information out and have it at some of our potential facilities that we have out there just as a information.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the report, Stacy. I'm wondering if there's a deadline in terms of when this application has to go in.
Ms. Jeffrey, any comment?
Through you, Mayor Finch. Yeah, so the deadline is the end of this month, so January 31st. So that's the reason why I'm bringing this to council. So you are made aware, as well as so then, if it is favorable, we would like to hit that deadline for the application.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so as a follow-up, and so once you find out about the electrical possibilities, you'll be able to know what to actually ask for. So I'm assuming that a report's going to be coming back to council after the application has actually occurred to let us know where that shook out. And so I'm also wondering in terms of this is an opportunity to cover 75% of the potential expenses. The 25% that the municipality will have to pay for. Did we have that in the budget? I'm trying to remember if we actually had that.
Ms. Priscilla Carlson, go ahead.
No, we didn't have it in the budget. However, community manager Jeffrey can add on to this. This is a stackable grant. So in the meantime, we'll be looking at different grants that possibly might help us cover that 25%, as well as maybe some partners in the community that may have an interest as well.
Okay.
Okay. And Stacy, I believe there's 2 years in order to get
that's
yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. So you have, once you're approved for funding, you have 2 years then to actually complete the work as well. So that does give us time to look for stackable funding as well as partnerships.
Any other follow-up?
Yes, only one other question, a little different. With looking at both of the arenas to have some capability there. That's great. I just wondered if during that whole process, if we also looked at town hall parking lot itself.
Through you, Mayor Finch. Yeah, so we did look at any municipal facility that may be eligible, which is all of them. The key to this was obviously time constraints in terms of getting that application, as well as site readiness. So I spoke to it before, just looking at the two arenas are more site ready than what town hall would be, just in terms of the work that may be needed, connecting a charger and having to rip up the sidewalk. So I know in internal conversations and with the CAO, it is something top of mind as we're doing projects at facilities that may require ripping up asphalt or sidewalks. That way, then we can run a conduit to be charger ready, so we don't have to do it in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Turn to Councillor Oak. You had something? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I was just going to bring up the idea that it was a 2-year, that if we had to come up with the money, it could, our 25% could be proposed for the 2025 budget. Budget year sort of thing if need be. But there might be a sponsorship opportunity. You never know. That's I know as part of the recreation committee, there was a conduit put into the ground there at the time with the idea that maybe we could have somebody sponsor a charging station there as well. So maybe there's some partnership idea like that.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead.
Thank you. Are you saying that this is free? Like, if I had a vehicle there and plugged it in, is there no fee for that, or?
Ms. Sue Collison, you want to take that?
It's up to council as to whether or not they set a fee. I believe the Huron County just set a fee for their chargers that they just installed. Stacy, maybe perhaps you can give some information on that.
Ms. Jeffrey.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Finch. So Huron County installed, I believe, 12 chargers across the county. So County Council were presented with 3 options, basically a no charge, so not charging any fee to use the charging port, a $2.10 hourly rate, which that actually doesn't cost the cost of charging a vehicle, and then up to the third option was $5 per hour for charge, and that actually covers the cost to charge plus a little bit extra. So with that revenue, I believe the county was agreeable to then use some of that additional revenue for the actual maintenance and upkeep of the chargers.
Councillor Dietrich, comment?
Right. So in other words, it's kind of pays for its own self, but I was thinking maybe that you could use that fee to cover the 25%, but apparently there wouldn't be enough in it to do that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Oak.
Yeah, just on that note, so there's 12 chargers that the county is putting out. Did we end up one in South Huron?
Ms. Jeffrey?
Through you, Mayor Finch. So that was actually part of the regional EV strategy. So they looked at Huron County as a whole in relation to then Wellington County, Grey County, Bruce County. So it was more on a regional scale. In South Huron, we actually had adequate chargers in the north end of Exeter to meet that regional. They weren't looking at it at a local scale like we are now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Thank you very much, Stacy, for your expertise on this. And we'll move on to 9.4.2, I believe.
For this one, Julia will be providing us an overview of the 2024 budget adoption.
Welcome, Julia. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Through you, Mayor Finch. Just wait till I get my slides up here. Okay, so first I would like to thank council and staff for their dedication and commitment to the budget process. This presentation will provide a summary of the 2024 budget. Next slide, please. So in terms of 2024 budget priorities, this budget will see current levels of services maintained as well as continued investment in capital assets. This can be seen through our 10-year capital plan prepared by staff, continued investment in capital replacement reserve amounts, and a continued increase in the asset management levy of 0.25%. Council has also made it a priority to dedicate funds towards achieving their priority of finishing what they started, for example, allocating additional funds towards the Port Blake revitalization project. Next slide, please. So this budget pressures slide was originally provided at our budget basics presentation back in September. It's being recapped here just to reflect on some of the pressures faced during this budget process. As mentioned, one of our priorities of this budget was continued investment in capital assets. We have either maintained or increased contributions to capital replacement reserves in each of the divisions. We increased the asset management levy by 0.25% in line with the strategy established in 2023. And we have increased levy dollars being put towards capital projects. MPAC has continued to defer the reassessment. So the 2024 assessment roll reflects an overall increase of 1.9%, which equated to approximately $250,000 in tax revenues realized from growth. The CPI increase for September was 3.6%, which continues to have an impact on various operating costs, including gravel, fuel, utilities, wages, and benefits, as well as an impact on the cost of capital projects like rolling stock and construction. Following along the pressures from CPI, the budget for wages and benefits also increased due to regular staff movement through the grid, and in order to catch up the budget to the grid resulting from the pay equity study completed in early 2023. One other pressure that has surfaced and will impact future budgets is fluctuations in grant funding. So in December, we were notified of our allocations for 2 significant annual grants we received that are put towards infrastructure projects. That's the CCBF, previously known as the gas tax, and the OCIF. We received a reduction in funding from both of those sources. In fact, we received the maximum reduction in funding for OCIF, which was a 15% cut. While we anticipate reserve balances and project outcomes to be sufficient to cover the difference for the 2024 budget purposes, in future budgets, we may need to consider budgeting more conservatively on this front to address the variable grant allocations. Next slide, please. So 2024 operating highlights and key initiatives. Continued commitment to our asset management program. We're laying the foundation for a future that is sustainable through continued commitment to capital replacement reserves. This also includes an additional 0.25% levy increase from asset management that I've mentioned previously, and the completion of an updated asset management plan, which is currently in the works and will provide further insights into how we can ensure sustainability moving forward. The 2024 budget also includes an official plan and zoning bylaw updates, a DC background study, and continued use of modernization funds to offset software enhancement costs. Next slide, please. So this slide gives an overview of the 2024 operating spending. 2024 operating expenses amount to $24.4 million. The breakdown is by department, as can be seen on this slide. This is pretty comparable to 2023 operating spending breakdowns. Next slide, please. So as noted on the previous slide, the 2024 total operating expenses was $24.4 million. This chart breaks out the sources of revenue needed to fund the cost of delivering those services to the community. 2024 sources of operating funding include the tax levy, which makes up 37% of total sources of operating funding. And the other major contributor is the water sewer user fees at 38%. Now I'll go over some of the 2024 budget capital project highlights. In 2024, we're investing over $13.5 million in capital projects. These next few slides provide a summary of some of those projects, not including any carry forward projects. So we've got 6.8 kilometers of road resurfacing, including the McTaggart Line project and Corbett Line. There are a few bridge and culvert repairs or replacements, including one on Huron Street, one on Line 17 and B Line. We have the urban reconstruction project on Main Street North, which includes grant funding of $3 million in relation to the connecting links. And then a few facility capital projects at the South Huron Rec Center, like the kitchen exhaust, roof replacement, dehumidifier, and exterior steel. In terms of water and sewer projects, we've got 2 water main replacements, one on Dashwood Main Street, which is a joint project with the county, and then one on Blackbush Line. We're also recoating the Exeter Water Tower interior. And then we've got multiple fleet and equipment capital projects. So as you know, your tax bill supports the school boards, the county, and then local municipality. For every $1 on the tax bill, approximately 47 cents supports our municipality, 35 cents supports the county, and 18 cents supports the school boards. So this graphic further breaks out the 47 cents that is kept within the municipality. Again, this slide is fairly comparable to the 2023 breakdown. So this is an overview of the impact on the tax bill of the 2024 budget. The 2024 budget reflects a 3.91% tax rate increase for wards 1 and 3 and a 1.92% tax rate increase for ward 2. The noted levy increase will mean an annual increase of $23.53 per $100,000 of residential assessed value for rural and $13.53 per $100,000 of assessed value for urban wards. The 2024 projected municipal residential tax rate will be 0.00625,943 for rural wards and 0.00718857 for urban wards. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Julia. Well done. Any questions for her this time? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Julia, for the summary. Just a question. The county has proposed a draft budget, and I'm not sure where it's going to land, but the early indications are 8 or 9% is what they've been presented with. So if that is turns out higher than what we are projecting here, how does that change that 47, 35, 18, any rough calculations?
Ms. Warwick?
Through you, Mayor Finch. I don't have rough calculations, but I can say that if they're increasing their portion more than we're increasing ours, then that 47 cents that we keep would get a smaller portion of that overall $1, and the counties would be larger.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. So we need a mover and a seconder for this. Yeah, go ahead.
That South Huron Council receives a presentation by Julia Warwick, Director of Financial Services Treasurer, regarding 2024 budget adoption as presented.
And is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Is there any further discussion? We'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 9.4.3.
That South Huron Council receives a report from Julia Warwick, Director of Financial Services Treasurer, regarding Ontario Regulation 28409, Budget Matters, and that South Huron Council adopts this report, which meets the requirements of Regulation 284/09, Budget Matters.
Sorry, that was moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Vaughn. My microphone was off. Any discussion? Not seeing it, call the question. All in favor? That carries 7. Thank you. Next one, please.
The South Huron Council receives a report of Alex Wolf, Acting Clerk, regarding requests for service, complaints, and bylaw infractions, 2023, fourth quarter report, and 2023 summary report for information purposes.
And is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor McLeod-Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Oak.
Thanks, and thanks, Alex, for the report. It's just it was interesting read just to see the sheer number of requests through the reported site. So thank you to staff for handling all those requests. So just wondering how that system, the reported system, is working in your mind.
Ms. Wolf.
Through the chair, staff have found that this has been excellent in tracking statuses of of different requests for service and reporting. It's also been able to have a direct connection with other departments as well. So everything's tracked within the system instead of you having different tracking sheets. Each department has different tracking sheets. This is all kind of in one system, which is great. It's also been able to allow for outside parties, so contractors are also able to update through the system. So everything's kind of through one portal, which has been quite excellent for tracking and keeping things up to date. The numbers that are indicated in this report are the ones that come through the clerk's department. So reported info, any initial calls. So there would be additional requests for services or things like that that each department themselves receive. However, those are not the ones that are indicated in here. So the numbers would actually be significantly higher.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? That carries a 7. Thank you. Item number 10, please.
Notice the motion that was brought forward December 18th, 2023, moved by Mayor Finch. Whereas community safety and well-being has been identified by council as a priority, and whereas community security has been identified as a priority area for action for all residents of all of South Huron and our visitors in our community safety and well-being plan. And whereas the use of regulatory signs, flashing beacons, and pavement markings at crossovers help reduce risk of serious injuries on municipal roads. And whereas pedestrian crossovers not only improve the safety of pedestrian connections, but also increase active transportation mobility. And whereas economic development is recognized as an important aspect for growth in our urban core. And whereas accessibility is an important part of the ability for all residents to access services, to enjoy their community safely, and to move about in a safe and secure way. Therefore, be it resolved that council endorse a recommendation for staff to investigate the cost and feasibility of the installation of a pedestrian crossover, such as a PXO, Level 2, Type C pedestrian crossover, at or near the bump out on Main Street South in the community of Exeter.
So it's already been moved by myself. Is there a second or seconded by Councillor Neeb? And I'd like to speak to it too. Deputy, would you take the chair, please? Very well. And thank you, council. Just lost my, here you go. On occasion, you will hear me say, our greatest responsibility is to the safety of the public that elected us. And this holds true on this very topic with the pedestrian crossover. This style of crossover is used in other municipalities and provides a significant increased amount of safety for users. If we take a common sense approach to this motion, for me, it is a very simple decision. And I'm hoping each member of council will support what I'm bringing forward, since I have been approached by many residents over the past few years to pursue a crossover in this location. I do not see where there needs to be a master transportation plan to justify this crossover. With an aging demographic and young families of strollers and our visitors, I believe that this will be best suited at the north end of the bump out by the Bank of Montreal, since it would take up no parking spaces, and the west side of it extends directly into a small alley that's not suitable for vehicles. Again, that'd be something staff would have to investigate. But in addition, the bump out itself takes up a parking lane, so it automatically reduces the distance a person would have to walk across the road. And I would recommend that staff bring back a report to review what is possible in this location to see if it is what I've identified or something similar. And during this investigation, they could also look at the rest of Main Street for any other additional warranted crossovers for future budgets. And if the report returns favorable in this location, as I'm hopeful it should, I would like us to move forward this year, potentially through a budget amendment in this particular location, as I find it to be low-hanging fruit. And again, our greatest responsibility is to the safety of the people that elected us. Thank you. Any other discussion on that? Councillor Neeb, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. I think it's incredibly important that we get a report and move forward on a crosswalk in downtown Exeter. In 2020 and in 2016, pedestrians have been hit crossing our main street. Having a crosswalk at this location by the Parkette can reduce jaywalking, improve accessibility and walkability in our downtown, and increase visibility for pedestrians and can act as a form of traffic calming. Adding a crosswalk to this area of town can provide a clear location where pedestrians can cross safely. It's incredibly important that we improve pedestrian safety of our downtown, and I'm in favor of moving forward with a report from staff about a crosswalk at or near the bump out in Exeter.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How does this compare to the crossing guard one up the north end there?
This is a little different. If you turn your mic off, quite a bit different. It's similar to the one you see in Clinton. When you're driving through Clinton, it has flashing lights and there's no one actually standing there to cross people. You just push the button and the lights would flash. Councillor Oak?
Yeah, I've been asking for this for a number of years. So with the idea of at the parquet there to showcase our parquet as well and bring attention to it right there with the idea of safety as well. I work in Clinton, so there's 3 of them on Main Street in Clinton that seem to work quite well, and on a busy Highway 4 as well. So I don't see that the traffic issue. Some people have commented that you don't need to slow down traffic any further than it is, but I said, yes, you do. When you got people crossing the road there, you don't want that speeding between the 2 lights. It'd be nice to keep a little bit slower there. So I would support this as well.
And in addition, it does provide a predictable path for the residents and the motorists, knowing that there's an actual spot there. Any other questions at all, comments? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea as something to investigate and find out what the actual costs are. The only thing that I would say right at this point, until such time as I actually hear what the costs are at council, it's kind of difficult to say whether it's okay to do a budget amendment mid-year because don't know what you're actually talking about yet. I only hear from other municipalities that they're not inexpensive, but I don't know what that means either. So I did also hear some commentary over the years that if we were to have a crosswalk, maybe it's also an opportunity for us to think about whether we want to put any painting on the street to show some inclusivity. And so I don't know if the staff might give that some thought when they're putting together a report as well.
I think we can leave some artistic license to staff to come back with something. So, yeah, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, you're not seeing any. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. We'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Moving right along, item number 11, and Ms. Masuda-Carlson.
Okay. This next is items for discussion arising from previous meetings. The first one is a delegation from the United Way Perth Huron, Quality of Life in Perth Huron. And the second one was Jim Craigmile for the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority representative. And if I could, I would note for the United Way Perth Huron, I was just going to do a plug for the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan under that one. Because in the presentation, there was information on enhancing inclusion and understanding warning signs, risks of intimate partner violence, as well as youth mental health struggles. And the Community Safety and Wellbeing, the first quarter campaign, the kickoff's going to be held on Friday, and that'll be mental health and addictions, and that'll be in Clinton on Friday. As well as second quarter will be domestic and family violence. So that will be the second, and Deputy Mayor Dietrich is on the Oversight Committee. So he'll probably be able to provide a little bit more information once those campaigns, as well as Stacy, get done. The second item I would just say is the cost apportioning agreement, as well as the draft budget from Upper Thames. And there was additional information sent by the general manager, Tracy, which was circulated to council, as well as has been uploaded on the agenda.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Masuda-Carlson. Any comments? Mr. Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just on the Upper Thames Conservation Cat 3, it's based on what we had presented at last council, it looked like around $1,221. And in this latest budget that is linked that I see, it's gone up to $1,592. It's gone up another $300 from the draft that we did get. Any thought of what I know? I think there was some correspondence that talked about an increase that's come up because of they're in an area that's one of the fastest growing in the province, and there's a lot of more things that they have to be looking after. But this number, is another. Yes, it's only $300, but it's another $300. And I remember not too long ago we were dealing with $6,000 or $7,000 for Upper Thames, and now we're dealing with $13,000 or $14,000. It's doubled in the last 5 years, and so just wondering if that is the right number that I'm reading in the latest number. It's gone up.
Ms. Masuha-Coulson or Mr. Director Warwick, do you want to take that?
I might defer to the CIO if she might have a comment on that.
Okay.
If you give me a couple minutes and I'll take a look at that. But I would say that I did speak to the CAO of Perth South as well as St. Mary's. And just as a follow-up for council, St. Mary's has approved the draft apportioning agreement. And as well, Perth South will be discussing that at tomorrow night's council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Well, Ms. Masuha-Coulson to find that information. Yes. Mr. Oak.
Sorry, my mic was still on, but the 1592 was in the actual agreement that's attached to the minutes tonight. And then the 1222 is in the email that was sent, just is the same budget that was presented to us in December. But the Schedule B that I was referring it shows 1592 there now and I just wondered if that's the total or the way I read it, it's Cat 3 as well. So
Yeah, and as far as I know, like the draft budget only included the draft information that we had. So this would be an additional 300.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Neeb, go ahead, please.
Not to do with the Upper Thames, but more to do with the United Way presentation. I think I asked it already, but the United Way is looking at putting together a new nonprofit force focused on affordable housing. And I was just wondering if staff would be able to follow up at some point once they get that off the ground. And as we're entering our official planning process, I think it's important, and our growth study as well, it's important for us to take into account having a diversity of housing types too. And I think United Way could be a good partner on this, specifically as we look at whether we need more affordable housing or not in South Huron.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Masuha-Coulson, any comment?
We can certainly, we have had some high level discussions at this point, but nothing concrete yet to bring back to council.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments under 11.1 and 11.11? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, I want to jump over to Upper Thames again. And there's actually two elements of Upper Thames that are happening right at this point in time. One is the MOU for the Category 3. The other is the actual budget. When Jim came to speak with council, he asked us if we could provide him with any sort of input to take back to the Thames River Conservation Authority Didn't really specify when he wanted that information by, but I know that they're planning on voting on the budget at their annual general meeting, which is scheduled for some point in February. And considering that increase on the budget was in excess of 20%, I don't know, well, I'm certainly not inclined to go for a 20% increase. I don't know that South Huron would really have much bearing in whether that gets approved or not. I think the way that's weighted is that what London says, basically everybody's going to follow. About the only thing we might be able to do is to send a message in principle through Jim that we're not happy with that kind of a rate increase. So I'm just asking the question, Rebecca, at this point in time, have you heard anything from Tracy or Jim about where they're actually going to be with that budget increase come February?
Through the mayor, no, I haven't at this point. I did talk to Tracy and she's agreeable to come back if council wants to have a further discussion or presentation on the budget, because when she was here the last time, the budget wasn't released. It was only the cost apportioning agreement. So if that is something that council wants to have us invite her back, we can do that for the next council meeting.
Councillor Vaughn, comment?
Okay. So she didn't give you any kind of indication of how that increase is being received amongst their member municipalities? Like, I'm just wondering, I don't know their budget process over there. So I don't know if they're meeting again before February AGM, or if they're just going to have a budget discussion at their AGM. I don't really know how that works.
No, at this time, she hasn't provided me any information on any other feedback other than what we got from Councillor Craigmile.
Okay.
Follow up, Councillor Vaughn?
I'm just thinking here, maybe it would be a good idea to have, if Tracy could come to us via even Zoom to give us an update as to where they are. I think we've only got one other council meeting, February 5, between now and that likely AGM meeting.
Do you need a resolution for that at all?
To the mayor, no, I can do that. I can just email her back and invite her. We have space, don't we, acting clerk? Okay. Yep, we can do
Okay.
that.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Good, thank you. Any other comments at all? Ms. Masood Carlson, you have something?
I do have a question at this point. Is there any further questions on the cost apportionment agreement? Or is this something that could be brought back for consideration to the next council meeting?
Councillor Vaughn, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I personally think we should bring it back for the February 5th meeting as well. I did speak with Brian Horner of the ABCA, and for Perth South, who, as you know, was the only municipality in our member group that decided not to engage in the MOU. They're again, with the council meeting of tomorrow night, they're going to be discussing whether they want to rethink that position with ABCA. So it would be nice to just have it all known at the time that we make our decision.
Okay, very well. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing any, nothing further on 11 then. We go to item number 12, no new business unless there is something. Not seeing any. 13, Mayor and Councillor comments and announcements. Are there any comments at this time? Okay, not seeing any. We know we're going to the Roma conference next week, Councillor Oak and I, and we've got 3 delegations, as you may know. One with the Solicitor General and with Minister of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, our very own Lisa Thompson, and one with the Minister of Health. So we're looking forward to discussions there, and we'll report back when we do get back from that. Anybody else? Nope, not seeing. Item 14, communications. Ms. Masood Carlson, you want to call them out, please, and
14.1,
pull that.
14.2,
Pull.
14.3, that includes 14.3.1, 14.3.2. 14.4, that includes 14.4.1, 14.4.2. 14.5, that includes 14.5.1 and 14.5.2.
Pull that.
14.6. 14.7. 14.8.
Pull that.
14.9. And 14.10.
Okay, very well. We'll start off with 14.1 and the AIMO conference. Madam Clerk, do you have an update for us?
So the AMO conference is held this year, August 18th through 21st. And so we would require a resolution to register any interested council members.
Okay, and I know, you know, I'm going, and who else is going? Councillor Oak is going. Anyone else? Councillor Neeb is going. Councillor McLeod Haggett, Deputy Mayor. Anyone else? Very good. Do you have that?
Yeah, so it'd be that South Huron Council authorizes the clerk to complete registrations for 2024 annual AMO general meeting and conference held August 18th through 21st, 2024 for the following members of council: Mayor Finch, Deputy Mayor Dietrich, Councillor Oak, Councillor Dietrich, Councillor McLeod Haggett, and Councillor Neeb.
That's correct. We have a mover for that, please. Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. And 14.2, before we begin, I have something, Councillor Vaughn?
Yes, it doesn't exactly relate to 14.1, but it relates to conferences. And I wondered if I might
Councillor McLeod Haggett, I'm not sure if you want to stay for this little part here. Go ahead.
you
Councillor
might
Vaughn.
want to. You might want to. Okay, so typically we don't get necessarily a notice like we get for AMO for the FCM conference, but it's coming up in June, which is before the actual AMO. And when it comes quickly, and hotel rooms go quickly. So I would also like, if at all possible tonight, to express my interest in attending the FCM conference and have a resolution, if I may, for attendance at the FCM.
Okay, is there any discussion on that? Okay, not seeing any. Councillor Oak?
I'd move that.
Very well. Moved by Councillor Oak, second by Councillor Neeb. Any further discussion? Deputy?
Yeah, where is it?
It's in Calgary this year.
Okay, it's the same week as the gala, the hospital gala, just so you know. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Very well. Thank you very much, Councillor McLeod Haggett. And okay, 14.2, Mr. Neeb.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. Coolest Night of the Year event has returned again this year, and they're asking if we can waive the $100 application fee. This is a fundraiser for the South Huron Connection Center, which provides wraparound supports for those in need in our community, include trauma-informed care, substance use, mental health counseling, as well as basic needs such as showers, laundry, and food. Given this is a resource that many of our community need and it aligns with our community safety and well-being plan, I think it's really important that we waive the fee.
Thank you. And do you want to make that motion then?
Yep. Does it require a motion?
Okay, so move seconded by Councillor Oak. Is there any further discussion on that? Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 6. Did you have your hand? 6. Thank you very much. And can somebody please get Ms. McLeod Haggett back, please? Yeah, you come back in. Thank you. Okay, moving right along to 14.5, and I had discussions earlier with our staff, and I'll turn to Ms. Madam Clerk on 14.5.
So staff would recommend supporting these resolutions if the council would so incline. This is a situation that multiple municipalities deal with throughout Ontario, as we are the ones responsible should any cemeteries that are privately owned or volunteer run, eventually they become to the point where the individuals are no longer able to take care of them. Through the legislation does then fall on the municipality. So if council would be willing to support this, staff would recommend that.
I see Councillor Neeb nodding his head. So moved, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion, Councillor Oak?
Just curiosity, which ministry does this fall under?
Madam Clerk, would you
You
be able
know,
to elaborate?
offhand?
So it's the Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery. So the Bereavement Authority of Ontario is the delegated authority to provide oversight for the ministry for cemeteries.
Okay, thank you. So moved and seconded. If there's any further discussion, call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Moving on to 14.8, and I will turn to our CAO.
Then this one we discussed at a staff level too, would be interested if council could support this as well. This resolution supports funding agreements between the 3 levels of government: municipal, provincial, and federal governments. And there has been a lot of discussion, as council knows, on a new fiscal framework for municipalities, just with our infrastructure and service, and the inadequacy of relying on property tax. So if council so desires, we'd appreciate that.
Councillor Neeb moves it. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Vaughn seconds. Any discussion? Councillor Neeb?
I think with just hearing that our OCIF funding has been cut by 15%, I think we need to be looking at as many other avenues as we can to cover our costs as a municipality, and it can't all be borne on property taxes.
So true. And we have any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. I believe that's it, unless somebody else has something else they wish to pull. If not, we'll go to the recommendation. Ms. Masuda Collison.
The South Huron Council received communication items not otherwise dealt with.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 6. Thank you. Closed session, there is none. Moving, therefore, no reporting from closed session. Bylaw 17.1, please.
The South Huron Council gives first, second, third, final reading to bylaw 1, 2024, being a bylaw to adopt the 2024 budget for the municipality of South Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Refresh my memory here, since it's been quite a while since our last council meeting. I've had some time to think. Did we approve 3 or 4 new trucks, 1/2 ton, 3/4 ton trailer and stuff to haul all that stuff? If I recall, there was mention in the new year that we'd have discussion on a fleet. I'm not sure if that would include what would be required, engines, heated seats, etc. And the transportation department had quite a list too: a new mower, mini excavator, trailer, icebreaker. These items could very well be needed, but I feel it would be better understanding if I had eye contact. Like, it'd be nice if we could go and visit some of this equipment, see whether they really do need it or whatever. And as a counselor, we seem to not be allowed to talk to the employees for some reason or another. And I know for a fact, if you give a child everything they ask for, they'll keep asking, and I don't think adults are much different. I get the feeling sometimes that the tail is wagging the dog. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Councillor Dietrich. I think the questions could have been asked earlier, but I'll turn to Mrs. Collison and as far as reaching out to staff.
Now, as far as everything that you mentioned that was in the draft budget that came forward at the December 11th meeting, that was kind of approved by council per se to bring back to this meeting, is included in there, just for clarity's sake for that. Now, as far as the items that were proposed by staff to council for the budget, that was operationally and through master plans, through various needs that were required at a staffing level, were proposed to be put in the budget. And that was provided to council as far as that goes. Now, I know you had a question about the fleet management. That is coming. That is something that at a staff level we're looking to do. We're not quite prepared to bring anything forward to council yet at this time, but it is our goal to have something ready for the next budget cycle, like prior to the next budget cycle and back to council.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
Yeah, Paul, and if you ever wish to speak to staff, you just contact the CAO directly and then she can provide guidance as to how to approach them and understand better the operation itself. Correct, Mrs. Sue Colson?
That is correct.
Yeah, they're not beyond our approach, but we have to follow the chain of command basically to make sure that we're not all going to the different staff members and it creates confusion. So we have the one employee, which is our CAO, but great question. Any other questions at all? Okay, not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please. 17.2, I believe.
The South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 2-2024, being a bylaw for municipal borrowing of current expenditures.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 17.3.
The South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 03-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 09-2021, a bylaw to adopt the procurement of goods and services policy for the corporation of the municipality of South Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, and I'm not against the idea. I think last time I mentioned that I was hoping not that we'd stop from trying to piecemeal things together and actually do the full review when we do it. But in this case, I will be voting in favor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 17.4.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 04-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 16-2023 to provide for collection of actual costs for the construction of the Kint's Night Municipal Drain 2023.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Dietrich, second by Deputy Mayor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 17.5.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 5-2024, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement between the corporation of the municipality of South Huron and Tobelco Inc. in the municipality of South Huron in the county of Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, just wondered where we are with the discussion about in this agreement, it talks about letters of credit only, and I know there's a review going on whether we can do other things beside a letter of credit for these, cash in a bank account or some type of bond or something. And just, I know that there's some work being done, but I just wondered where we are with that review.
Ms. Masula Carlson?
What I can tell you is that we are working on that. I'm hoping by probably the second quarter, we'll have something back for council, but yes, and as well for subdivisions, we're gonna be looking at subdivision bonds, which is something else as well, just to provide more options.
Great, Councillor Oak.
Thanks, because I think some of these smaller projects like this, a letter of credit is sometimes an inconvenience to try to arrange through a bank versus having cash on deposit sort of thing. So just subdivision's different thing, but a smaller project like this, it's definitely is inconvenient.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments for staff? Not seeing any, call the question. All in favor? That carries a 7. Thank you. 18, please.
The South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 6-2024, being a bylaw to confirm matters addressed at the December 11th, 2023 budget meeting and the January 15th, 2024 council meeting.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. And 19.
The South Huron Council hereby adjourns at 7:39 p.m. to meet again on February 5th, 2024 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Neeb. Any no discussion? To call the question, all in favor? And that carries a 7. Thank you very